Welcome to Web Handling. My name is Dave Roisum. We continue our tour of what may be important in web handling by talking about speed. The It Depends category is the largest. Much of this is due to the size and complexities of the real world. Sensitivities vary considerably. For example, some materials, such as paper, may be troubled by brittle web breaks, while most others, such as film, seldom ever experience this type of problem. Finally, how much you put into the It Depends category will also be based on how many details you can understand and manage in the real world. So let us begin with what should be the best understood factor in web manufacturing, web converting, and web handling. Of course, speed affects machine design. However, most of the effects have to do with drive sizing and the automation of the front and back ends of a line. On the other hand, the effects of speed on web handling mechanicals is usually quite small, such as RPM ratings of bearings, until you get to higher speeds where air entrainment and vibration come into play. Of course, speed also affects some manufacturing and converting processes, sometimes quite profoundly. For example, there are speed regimes for a given coating viscosity and thickness where reverse roll coating works well. Speed also affects the dwell time, that in turn affects the size of the machine needed to cool, dry, or cure many products. Of course, speed also affects productivity. However, this effect is not at all proportional. Doubling the speed will not double the saleable output because there are downtime events such as grade changes and maintenance. In fact, in some cases, doubling the speed will actually cause saleable product to decrease when systems are not reliable. However, none of these important concerns are web handling per se, which is the primary subject of Web 101 and Web 201. So, if we look at the effects of speed on web handling, it is clearly the It Depends category where the dependencies are usually quite well known. Easily the most profound effects of speed in web handling are air entrained between a web and a roller during transport, as well as air entrained between the web and the web during winding. Air entrainment between the web and the roller affects traction in ways that we covered in great detail in Module 3 of my Web 101 Web Handling class. Details are given in my roller book, including on how to size traction enhancers such as grooving. More conveniently, these calculations are given in the Fast and Free Air Lubrication Calculator by Abbott App. Analogous physics also happen during winding, as air entrained between the layers loosens the wound roll for certain cases. These more complicated physics are thoroughly described in Module 25 of my Web 101 winding class and are thoroughly detailed in my second winding book. So how do we know if any of this matters? Simple. It will not matter if the web is narrow, rough, or porous. It will also not matter at low speeds. In fact, the best test for air entrainment is speed sensitivity. It should not at all be surprising that such a fundamental web machine parameter, such as speed, has associated with it a number of myths. Perhaps the first is more of a fallacy of the general rule than a pure myth. That is the do you want it fast or do you want it good dilemma. We cover this in more detail in the productivity module of my Web 101 winding class, as well as my critical thinking class that is taught on special request. You should not at all be surprised that sometimes speed matters, but far less than you might think in web handling. Its main effects are air entrainment that we just mentioned, as well as vibration that affects design and maintenance. However, it is not a given that speed is purely troublesome in web handling. As we learned in the Web 101 web handling class, Wrinkling often decreases as you increase speed, and those of you who went to school know why and how to make use of that knowledge. Thank you so very much for watching this module and my plant practical video clips. Stay tuned as we continue our tour of what matters in web handling.